Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Cash That. This is your host, Joe Dellera, and this episode is once again brought to you by our good friends at Rhythm. Rhythm is the #1 AI betting tool in the market. I know when you're betting on some of these playoff games, it gets to be really difficult. You're like, I don't know what to take into consideration. I'm not sure what facts or what stats or what metrics matter. Just let Rhythm do the work for you. They can help you with your player props. They can help you with your sides, your totals, your money lines, etc. You get it for free for a week down here in the bio. It's available on your phone, on your desktop, wherever you need to be betting on sports. You can have access to Rhythm, and you can get it for a week for free down below. Guys, there have been a number of series that have actually wrapped up right now in the first round. We have a couple more series that are heading to game sixes. It's gonna be a lot of fun right now. And I think this first round has been honestly one of the more enjoyable first rounds that I've watched in years. I feel like even though we only got 1-2 series, these series have been tight, competitive. Even I know that we get some blowouts, obviously, but even in some of the series that were sweeps, like the Oklahoma City series, it was exciting to watch Oklahoma City have that crazy comeback in game 3. And then, they just kind of exerted their will throughout that course of that series. We saw Cleveland get pushed to the brink in one game, and then they wound up just clapping Miami and sending them back to South Beach. So it was definitely a lot of fun overall in this first round, at least in my opinion. And I'm like loving the basketball that we're getting to watch. So I think it is one of the trade-offs, obviously, in the regular season, some players sit, whatever. Right now, we're going to see players actually play, and the quality of basketball has been excellent. So very, very happy about that. I'm recording right now. It's about the start of the fourth quarter in Nuggets Clippers. Nuggets look like they're going to take care of business here. So that's why I was like, you know what, let me hop on right now, try to get started. Maybe I can get a little bit of extra sleep tonight relative to the norm, right? And so that's why I wanted to do that. Now, let's take a couple housekeeping things here, just so that way we can kind of talk about what what we see is coming up, what the schedule is, what we need to be watching for, and in what order. So right now, the only matchup that's currently set is the Cavaliers versus the Pacers in the second round. Other than that, we're looking at a couple of series that are still in flux. The Knicks lead the Pistons 3-2. The Celtics are awaiting the winner of that series after defeating the Magic 4-1. Cashed a couple nice futures there. We grabbed Tatum 8+ rebounds, Tatum 10+ boards. We did the Celtics, Cavs, Thunder -1.5 games. So very successful first round in that regard. The Thunder we hit as well. The Thunder obviously advanced. They swept the Grizzlies. We hit them on the series. We also had them we had Shea to be the leading scorer in that series, so that's looking good for us as well, or that obviously was good for us as well. The Nuggets look to be going up 3-2 on the Clippers, and they will play game 6 on the road. Then tonight we have a couple games, and we'll talk about those. We've got the Lakers versus the Timberwolves, and we have the Rockets versus the Warriors. Both of those series sit at 3-1 right now. Minnesota is leading 3-1, whereas the Warriors, the 7-seed Warriors, are leading 3-1. So both of the lower seeds are winning these matchups right now. It's definitely a little bit interesting just based on the fact that the Western Conference was so tight, and now it's like you see that the seeding didn't totally matter, especially for these matchups, and we're seeing the quote-unquote underdogs rising up to the challenge and winning so far through these series. I would expect both of them at this juncture to wind up advancing. So with that being said, I think that it's not totally outlandish for us to project the Minnesota Timberwolves against the Golden State Warriors in the next round. It would be quite the hole for both of these teams to have to climb out of, being down 3-1. In the event that either team did climb out 3-1, or honestly, even if these series just go 7 games, one of the bigger trends has been if there's a team that went 7 games and their opponent did not go 7 games, so their opponent has a rest advantage, you're going to want to bet that opponent in the first game of the series. So we don't see that right now. It looks like Boston is going to have a rest advantage, obviously, over the Knicks or the Pistons, but that is a series that could go 7 games. And we have to keep an eye on these Rockets, Warriors, and the Lakers and the Wolves series to see if those get stretched out. But Nuggets Clippers has been a war, and it's entirely possible that that series goes 7. Either way, I think I'm going to be wanting Oklahoma City in game 1. They're going to be very rested after these two teams came off an absolute battle of a series that we know we're seeing at minimum 6 games, possibly 7, if the Clippers are able to either, force a game 7, or right now there's about 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Maybe they can get this one done too and take a 3-2 series lead and get a chance to close it out at home in front of the wall. So we'll have to see. We'll keep an eye on it, but I do want to touch on these games tonight very briefly, and then talk about some of the playoff things overall. So we'll start with the Rockets versus the Warriors, because that's the first game kind of on the slate. The Rockets have just struggled immensely to find any consistent offense throughout the series. The Warriors are just bottling them up almost completely, and it's really been causing them a problem from the offensive side because they just can't find any rhythm. And Golden State's defense has been legit. It's one of those things where you looked at it and you said, is this real? Obviously the Jimmy trade was significant, proved that team immensely, and definitely raised their floor as well as their ceiling. But when we look at this now in this matchup, Houston just can't score. They have a 110 offensive rating right now in the playoffs, which if you looked at that over the course, it's below average for the playoffs, number one. League average is about 114. In the regular season, if we applied this 110 rating to the regular season, it would be even worse. And during the regular season, the Rockets had a 116.3 offensive rating, and they had a 110.8 defensive rating, which was 4th best in the league. So they are just being absolutely stifled by this Golden State Warriors team, and it's been problematic. One of the other issues for the Rockets, and I put out a tweet about it yesterday, or a post, I guess, on X. I put out a post about this, and I was talking about their free throw percentages. And if we look at what Houston's been able to do, they've been able to actually generate good contact. They've been able to get to the line in game 4. 19 of 31, so 61% from the free throw line. Overall, 60 of 95. That's only 63% overall this series. You know what the total point differential is? 9 points, and they're down 3-1. You make your free throws, maybe they win this series. Maybe they're up, maybe they won 4-0. Like, I'm not saying that we need to expect them to make all 95 free throws. That's not what we're saying. We know that's not the reality, but you can't shoot 63% and expect to win basketball games. You got to shoot at least in the 70s, maybe in the 80s too would be great. Those are extra opportunities that you just cannot give to a veteran Warriors team that is able to generate their own types of contact. They're tough. They play defensively. Like, those are going to be the easiest shots you're going to have all night. And if you can't convert, you are going to be in a major hole for this series. So I don't think that they have enough offense to get out of this hole. Down 3-1 against the Warriors. I fully expect the Golden State Warriors to wrap this series up. I know that they obviously would have to do so on the road here in Game 5. Game 5 is going to be in Houston, and the spread has been moving towards the Houston Rockets. If we look at the line, I think it opened at 2.5, and now I'm seeing some 4s, -4.5s as well. I get that this line is moving towards Houston. I don't buy it. I don't buy their offense at all. Looking at the games this series, they've just been completely unable to generate consistent offense. So far, they've scored 85 points, 109 points, 93 points, 106 points. Getting over 100 a couple times. The total on this game is 203.5. One of the things that I might look for here is their team total, 103.5. I think that it's reasonable to grab the under here either way. I think you can grab under 103.5. I question whether or not Houston deserves to be a favorite here. I know that Ime Udoka will have them ready to rip for this spot, but the Warriors look great. I think this is a good opportunity for them to close this series out. I think they understand the importance of being able to get this rest, especially knowing that, maybe LA can force an extra game and then they actually have a real rest advantage. So I'm going to grab Rockets under 103.5 on their team total and get a little bite in there on a way to fade Houston in what I think could be a lower scoring game. Now we've got the Lakers against the Minnesota Timberwolves here. Lakers obviously backs up against the wall, down 3-1 in this series as well. And it's obviously a must-win situation for the Lakers. Number of different things kind of going on here. LeBron in these elimination style games just always steps up his shit. And I wanted to bet on his rebounds. It's gotten a little out of control lately. The last couple games, he's at 11, 10, and 12 rebounds. Just preposterous numbers. But that's on 19, 12, and 22 rebound chances last game. He's getting a ton of opportunity. And one of the things about LeBron is he expends a little bit more effort. And the thing is, though, we just saw him play 46 minutes in the last game. JJ Redick did something that's never been done before, or like hasn't been done since the 80s, something like that. But it's basically that he left the entire rotation in for the entire second half. So you had like 40-year-old LeBron James playing 24 consecutive minutes in game 4 of the first round of the playoffs. It's a lot of fucking minutes. You have to wonder if, I would imagine that has to change. Like you just can't be going out there doing that again. But at the same time, like LeBron doesn't want to lose this game. LeBron's going to say, I'm going to play as long as you need me to play. And I think one of the things about LeBron is that he does pick up this level of intensity in these kind of must-win games. Points prop's at 25.5. The rebounds prop is at 9.5. Even the turnovers, he's actually been able to limit to a degree this season. He's at 2.5 for that, but he had only three last game. And on the series, he's at this 2.5 number. So I'm not super interested in the assists, even though the assists are at 6.5. And last game he only had 9 potentials. So he was getting a little bit more opportunity for himself, and he was obviously spending a little bit more time on the floor. But I'm sorry. He had 22. This is insane. He had 22 potentials, but that 22 was a massive spike from all the games prior. The other games were 10, 8, 8, 9. Really questionable games there, like in terms of how this is kind of swung. The biggest thing, though, is I think it's because Luka only had 2 assists in game 4. Luka did not distribute the ball very well. He was able to score like at will, still put up 38 points, but Luka also took 28 shots, 13 to 28 from the field. So there's a lot of usage between just those two players for the Lakers, and we know that they're going to play a ton of minutes. The question that I have, and kind of I guess one of the concerns, is how tired they're going to be maybe in this spot. The interesting thing is that I think Naz Reid has started to get, not played off, but he kind of started to get attacked by Luka, and I think that is kind of becoming a little bit of a problem for them. Julius Randle, though, has been excellent, especially from a scoring department. He scored over 20 points in the last 3 games. His points prop is there's a 19.5 out there right now at FanDuel, which is pretty far off the rest of the market. I'm seeing mostly 20.5s and even some 21.5. So I don't mind a 19.5 here. I do think it's a pretty good opportunity. He's seen his minutes continue to climb. The one concern that I have here is that it is a little bit of a letdown spot for them. I'm curious to see what the Lakers do schematically. I think that they're going to throw a ton of different looks at Anthony Edwards. You want to get the ball out of his hands. He's got a 28 or 29 and a half points prop, and his assists are at 5.5. His rebounds are at 6.5. I think that maybe the way to look at Ant is 11.5 RA. So far this series, he's hit that in 3 of the 4 games. And he's had 17, 6, 16, and 15 RA in those spots. Last game, he saw his potential assist pop up again. They went up to 12, and the rebound chances were at 14. Part of why I like the RA is I know that Ant was a killer, absolute stone cold killer last game. And in the second half, was just dominant as a scoring force. Scored 24 points in the second half, 19 points in the first half, and just was deadly in the fourth quarter with 16 points. My thought is that the entire scheme is just going to be anybody but Ant. So we're going to blitz him. We're going to show help. We're going to double, and we're going to deny the ball. Like, we're going to do everything we can so that Ant isn't the guy beating us. And I like RA there because then he can kind of get some of that team like aggression, or so to speak, out with the rebounding department. And he's also shown us that he can be an adequate facilitator. So I like the over on the RA at 11.5. I think it's nice to get this as a combo prop instead and kind of capture both of those, where I'd expect to see him playing minutes in the 40, like at least 40, and definitely in maybe even up to the mid 40s. So I like Anthony Edwards over 11.5 RA. All right, so let's look at this Cavs Pacers series a little bit. I think that this is going to be a really interesting series for a number of different reasons. It's always interesting when teams that are within the same division play each other, because you usually have not only the biggest sample size, but there's maybe like a little bit of a rivalry. You've seen a couple extra games over the past couple of seasons, and these teams generally have a little bit of a feel for each other. Additionally, I think a lot of times the fans can travel a little bit better it's a little bit easier to maybe take over like an opposing stadium or one way or the other, just because of the proximity that these two teams have to each other. I think this series is going to be defined by a couple of different things. One, is Donovan Mitchell going to be the best player in the series? I think that he can. I think that I'm going to be all over him for scoring leader. I think he's going to be the favorite, but I'm going to be all over him. I think it's going to be a great opportunity for him against this Pacers defense that tends to like not overhelp. They're generally going to just let you get what you want. They're not a team that is going to throw like the kitchen sink at one player. I think that Nembhard probably gets Garland, and I think that Evan Mobley will probably deal with Siakam as long as Jared Allen's on the floor. If Jared Allen's not on the floor, because Indiana doesn't play like a super big lineup, I think that that can change a lot of the dynamics on the floor and the geometry on the floor. I think this is going to be the series where we bet on Evan Mobley to lead the series in rebounding. If Jared Allen gets played off the court, which is entirely possible, over the past couple of seasons, he's only averaged like low 20s in the minutes for him against the Indiana Pacers. This could be a spot for Evan Mobley to maybe kind of rise up. He's a little bit more versatile in terms of what his defensive skill set is. It's not that Allen is going to necessarily get totally played off. I think that he's still important and plays an important role for Indiana, but I don't know if they need him to play 30, 35, 40 minutes a game, even as good as Indiana is. For Indiana, the question is going to be, can Tyrese Halliburton break loose against this top-tier Cleveland Cavaliers defense? Obviously, when you play the Milwaukee Bucks, they do not have a strong defense. They do not have a strong defensive presence. They're a team that has gotten sliced and diced by lead guards all season, and even dating back to last season. Now you play a Cleveland Cavaliers team that has been stifling defensively and just shoots a litany of three-pointers. So this is going to be a really interesting matchup. I'm going to be looking, like I said, for Donovan Mitchell to be the point leader, the scoring leader in this series. And I'm going to be looking at Evan Mobley to be the rebounding leader in this series. So I'm waiting for those lines to drop. Hopefully they're playable. I keep waffling on who I think is going to win the series. I think the Cavs should win. Let's put it this way. Do I think that the Pacers are priced properly? Like the Pacers are plus 2.5, minus 135. So that's basically, do I think they can win 2 games? I also think that if you're going to do that, I don't see a way that Indiana wins the series fast. You may as well bet over 5.5 games at minus 105. I think that's a better bet than Pacers plus 2.5 games. I think that it's unlikely that Indiana wins in 4 or 5. It's unlikely that they win generally, but I think it's highly unlikely that they win in 4 or 5. So if you like Indiana, that's how I would play it. Cleveland, I keep struggling with because I think that Cleveland's really, 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 really good. I think they're almost underrated this season. But I do have some concerns just about seeing them play like a real legitimate playoff team. We can be real. The Heat are like literally the worst playoff team we've had in a number of years. They were a 10 seed and they got through the play-in tournament. Obviously, they have Spoelstra to help, but they got embarrassed a couple games in a row. Like Cleveland clearly outclassed them. Indiana has been surging over the second half of the season. I think that this is going to be a tight series. I think Cleveland should end up on top, but I think Indiana is going to give them quite the test. So I do kind of like that over 5.5 games. Looking at the rest of these series, Knicks should be able to take care of business, but you really never know. Jalen Brunson gets hurt. Josh Hart gets hurt. It was like the last 3 minutes from hell over there in game 5. New York really should have been able to take care of business, and they didn't. And now you are going to be at a rest disadvantage against a Celtics team who has really had your number all season long. So Boston wants that Knicks-Pistons series to go as many games as possible. They want a 7-game series, and in that game one, we would be betting on Boston because that is the way that those trends look. So the longer the series goes, the higher Boston's chances are to come out of the Eastern Conference and to be maybe sitting in a favorable matchup with extra rest against either the Cavs or the Pacers. Looking at the Western Conference, the Nuggets won this game now, and they're up 3-1 on the series. Denver would be a fascinating matchup for Oklahoma City. I would actually be really interested in betting in that series. I'd be pretty interested to see what the price is for Jokic to lead the series in scoring. He should definitely lead in like rebounding. He should probably also lead in assists in that series. But I'd be fascinated to see what he is in scoring because you have a guy like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander on the other sides. Curious, I think I would need like at least a 4-1 to play it, but with Oklahoma City being a little bit undersized, obviously they have Chet, they have Hartenstein. It could be a pressure point where Jokic is like, let's attack this one. For presumptively, let's say the favorites win right now, or the team's leading win, and we get Wolves Warriors. That is going to be an interesting one as well, because I didn't really think that the Warriors or that the Wolves matched up great with the Lakers based on what their like kind of preferred lineups were. But then you watch what's going on with the Warriors series, because I was concerned about the size. Like I was concerned that you'd have Gobert played off or Naz Reid played off, like somebody played off. But then you watch the Rockets play the Warriors, and the Rockets they just have no offense. But the big lineups have been pretty successful. And just from like an eye test perspective, right? And I think some of the advanced numbers back it up as well. But Minnesota has much better scoring threats than the Houston Rockets, I think. And at least much more consistent scoring threats than the Houston Rockets. So I would probably be going towards the Wolves in that series. I'd be curious to see what the price is. I think, well, two things. The Warriors are going to be the road team to any of the teams that advance, whether it's the Lakers or the Wolves. They're actually going to be the road team and the lower seeded team to anybody at this juncture that's left in the Western Conference playoffs. I think anybody in the entire rest of the league based on seeding anyway. I'd have to double check the records, but I don't think that it would be everybody in the Eastern Conference right now. That being said, I think Minnesota would have to be priced as like a short favorite, but I think a lot of it might have to do with how long these series go. Because if Minnesota's at a rest disadvantage, then that definitely swings it to a degree towards the Warriors. So just something to keep an eye on, something to kind of keep looking for. In that series, I would be interested in, I think Julius Randle, like rebounds is probably good there. Jaden McDaniels stuff is going to be great. I think Rudy Gobert could, again, I think he could have a pretty solid, impactful series, even if the minutes aren't there, just based on the fact that he going to be able to cause problems, clog up the interior, and, obviously he plays in a drop. Steph Curry is going to cook, but I do think that his interior presence might allow Minnesota to play some other extra lineups or some other smaller players against this faster Warriors team. And I would definitely be curious to see what Ant's price is to lead the series in threes, like Ant or Dante to lead the series in threes, because you're going to get a good number just based on the fact that Curry's in the series. And that's something that I would want to be able to try to take advantage of. So I would be looking for that in a potential Wolves Warriors round 2 or conference semifinals type of matchup. Right now, I still feel like it's chalky, but I still think that we're going to see Cavs Thunder in the finals. I think the Cavs have been excellent, honestly, all season, and they really put in some work against Miami. For Oklahoma City, you can have your questions. That team is stacked. You've got a million different wings. You have a bunch of bigs that can really take advantage of you, whether it's Chet or Hartenstein. I think that this next round matchup might be the most difficult against Denver or LA. But that being said, they are a really, really deep team. Caruso looks like a demon on defense, and Jalen Williams looks great. The biggest questions to me about Oklahoma City were, how good is Jalen Williams going to be? In part, I think that the Grizzlies matchup was an excellent one for him. But I also think that, maybe he's rising to the challenge. Maybe that was the first series he needed in order to start feeling a little bit more in a rhythm and be able to rise up to the challenge in the playoffs. So fascinated to watch, very excited for these playoffs to keep continuing. And again, if you right now, I don't have a ton of plays or angles to really talk about just based on the fact that some of these series are in flux right now. But it's also just because we don't know who's playing each other. Like, we know that this game, I think, is going to be on Sunday between the Cavs and the Pacers. If some of these other series wrap up, we might see another game on Sunday. We might see a Wolves Warriors game on Sunday as well. So got to keep your eyes peeled. We'll see how many days off we have moving forward, but we're going to keep firing our plays out there. So obviously, if you want to get them first, be sure to join the huddle. I got a link down here in the bio for free as well. You can check that out. Then afterwards, obviously, it's a paid by the month. You can do 1 month, you can do 2 months, you can do however long you want, and you get the plays first. That way, you're able to get the best lines really at the time that I'm putting the bet in as well. Plus all the plays from Matty Chucks, Lord Penguin, and That Guy Bets. So great squad in there, cool chat in the Discord that's also included, and you really get to interact with me and kick some of these ideas around, especially the futures bets. The futures have just been crushing. That's always my bread and butter in the postseason. And like we cashed that Pritchard one last week, so that was sick. Hopefully we get some more stuff with like Shea and some of these other awards as well. So a lot of fun, and be sure to like, rate, and subscribe to the pod. It really helps me. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, and it helps me get more content out to you. And obviously it helps my sponsors that help make the show possible. So looking at the schedule here for the rest of the playoffs, once we get like a little bit more lines or a little bit more certainty in the next round, I'm going to have to see when the series are really starting. I'd be interested in doing a like round 2 preview, but I also think that the podcast as it normally comes out would be perfectly aligned for like a post game 2 reactions, or at least between game, like at least post game 1 reactions for most of the series. So I think that might be best. That way we can get a good feel for what we've seen, how are we reacting, what are our 2 early reactions to that, and how we can bet it, what's actionable. Because a lot of times, especially with those series leader markets, you can really find some extra value by buying in late and essentially buying a dip when the market overreacts or overcorrects to one game, and especially in a series that you think could maybe go 7. So that's what we'll do from a housekeeping perspective, and we'll try to go from there. But as for pods and recs, I am going to recommend buying a, like, not a shitty watch, but like a cheap watch. I just bought one. I'm waiting for it to come in the mail. I ordered a Casio, and I wanted something that like I could wear that didn't look like rubbery or like an Apple Watch, but like if I wanted to do something like outside, or I was trying to do something like a little bit like physical, whatever, I was like, then I don't have to wear like a really nice watch, and I could wear something that still looks good. And like makes me look put together, but it doesn't break the bank. I like hate the idea of not wearing a watch. Like when I don't wear one, I feel like naked. So I wanted to buy something that wasn't like super crazy. So like if you have a cool watch suggestion, let me know. I'm always down to like add an extra watch to the collection. I think it's fun. I think it's something cool to collect, have, whatever. So let me know in the comments if there's a watch that you like, so we can keep telling time, and we can always be sure that we are on time for these games, on time for these bets, so that way we can continue to cash that.